Two separate transformations have been performed to square ABCD to result in the image A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. The first transformation is a dilation, followed by a translation. Give the details of both transformations in the space below. When describing the dilation, please include the scale factor. When describing the translation, please state the rule or describe the translation with horizontal and vertical directions and number of units. So we're going to just start with the information that they've given us. And they've already told us that the first transformation in this sequence is a dilation. So let's start with the pre-image, which is this large square in quadrant 1. And we have got to figure out how to graph the new version of this example. So we need to know what is the scale factor. So there's a step or a picture that's missing here, but I can actually figure out the scale factor by the final result because I know that the second transformation is a translation, so it doesn't interfere with the size. So I'm going to just pick one side length of this original square, and I'm going to figure out how many units long is it. So I'm going to say AB. So AB is exactly 4 units in the pre-image. Okay, now the final square, the final transformation, if I look at the corresponding side, A prime, B prime, it's only 1 unit. So I know right away that this is a reduction because ABCD shrinks. So if it went from 4 units on one of the sides to 1 unit on one of the sides, that means that my scale factor is a fraction. And the only way to multiply 4 and get 1 is to multiply by 1/4. Okay, so that means I have a scale factor of 1/4. So now that I've figured out my scale factor, I'm going to go ahead and actually figure out the coordinates of the dilated version of ABCD. So let's look at each of the points. I can see that A is located at 4, 8. B is located at 8, 8. C is at 8, 4. And D is at 4, 4. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to multiply all of these coordinates by the scale factor of 1/4. So if I start with A, I'm going to just show my work down here. Let's go ahead and say A, and then just making a table here, even though this really should be up here because this is the dilation. But anyway, so A is at 4, 8. First, I'm going to multiply the 4 by 1/4. 4 multiplied by 1/4 is just 1. Now I'm going to do 8 times 1/4, which is 2. Okay, so then I'm going to do the same thing for B. B was located at 8, 8. 8 times 1/4 is 2. 8 times 1/4 is 2. Let's do the same thing for C. C is 8, 4. 8 times 1/4 is 2. 4 times 1/4 is 1. Lastly is D. And D is at 4, 4. Excuse my messy handwriting here. 4 times 1/4 is 1. So that's 1, 1. So now I'm actually going to plot those points to show the dilated version of this square. So A is going to be at 1, 2. Right there. I guess I'll go ahead and call it prime. Even though this one's prime, maybe I'll just make this one double prime, just so you can know that I'm talking about 2 different things here. Okay, so A prime is at 1, 2. B prime's at 2, 2. C prime is at 2, 1. And D prime is at 1, 1. So here is where the square would be. Sorry, I'm not good at drawing straight lines here, but this is where the square would be after a dilation with a scale factor of 1/4 and a center of dilation at the origin. So now I'm able to figure out the translation. I would never try to do this without actually graphing it, either by hand or with some sort of computer program, because really you're just guessing if you don't actually graph it out. All right, so now that I have done the dilation, I can figure out the translation. Again, I'm going to pick a point on the pre-image, and then I'm going to pick that same corresponding point on the final image. So we'll do this one. I'm calling it B double prime now. So to go from B prime to B double prime, I had to move 1, 2, just 1, 2. 2 units to the right, and 1, 2, 3. Sorry, that's really messy, but that is 3 units down. So that would be a translation. And if I write it as a rule, I would say x comma y yields x plus 2 because it moved to the right 2, and then y minus 3 because it moved down 3. So I highly recommend that you make sure you graph it on graph paper if you have graph paper, or even just draw a sketch in your notebook if you don't.